Hey/X/, long-term lurker here from New Zealand, have a collection of somewhat strange tales from my travels around the country, mainly while fossil hunting remote areas. Does anyone have any experiences in New Zealand? May post mine soon if there's any interest. Okay, I'll tell kind of a short one first. Will attempt my first shitty green text. Be me. Just turned 22. Living in Christchurch, New Zealand. Decide to go hunting for fossils at new spot, GF, now X, not interested in that type of thing particularly but keen to come for adventure. Jump in GF's 4x4 and head about 2 hours out of the city, onto desolate logging land. Redwoods or our equivalent as far as I can see on both sides of the narrow dirt road. Following map on phone till we reach the location. Parked car on roadside. Sunny day, still coldish being South Island. Hell yeah, excited to get digging. GF says she's gonna stay in the car as I'm only scouting the rock formations to see if we're in the right area. Go over embankment and out of sight of car. Find exposed rocks. In business.jpg. Struck with sudden nearly overwhelming sense of sadness. Start to feel fear. Just to preface, I am a happy guy, and this is not something that happens often. Get the sense that I am not alone, can't focus on the job at hand as I am deeply saddened for some reason. Not sure why, but know the feeling is external, as if it belongs to someone else. Decide to head back to car. Approach the ute. GF is looking away, dead staring into the forest on the opposite side of the road to where I was. She doesn't look away from the treeline the entire time I'm walking up onto her, the windows are down and there's little to no wind. Finally get to car. Feeling of sadness has turned nearly to complete anguish at this point. Look over the roof of the car as I think I see movement in the forest. In disbelief. Entire treeline in maybe a 5-meter area is blurry, and moving like a heatwave coming off of a tar road on an extremely hot day. Shit you not, the rest of the bush on either side is perfectly clear and swaying in the light breeze. Stare at this patch of almost clear mist, doesn't move in the wind, just hovers there maybe a meter into the trees. Staring at this thing, disappears. Not dissipates, just disappears. Treeline and forest look as they should in less than a second. Emotional wave disappears, just kind of feel empty and a little in shock. Open car door, GF nearly fills her pants, she's in tears and terrified. She saw it too. Begs me to just get in the car so she can drive away. Never comes fossil hunting with me again. I have more stories if you're interested, also I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them. Alright, here's a quick one from the perspective of my dad in the UK house. Have light up Homer Simpson slippers son Anon gave me when he was 5 for Father's Day. Wear them round the house. The kind that have little LEDs on the top that are pressure sensitive to when you step in them. Regular night at home. Put kids in bed and have cup of tea with wife. British. Kick slippers off to opposite sides of the room as always to piss off wife. Both get into bed and sleep. Both woken up at maybe 2 to 3 a.m. and notice room is dimly lit up with blinking colorful lights. What? Hear shuffling footsteps in room. Look over the edge of bed. Slippers are effing meeting in the middle of the room and shuffling to the edge of bed. Slippers stop neatly together and shuffling sound stops. Staring at the slippers, can't believe what we're both seeing. LEDs go out. Turn lights on and freak out. Wife not too phased, been around a lot of this stuff, I haven't. Dad still looks very uncomfortable talking about it even today, he's 6'3" and by no means a coward. Still wear the slippers. Some additional info on my first story, about the strange area encountered while fossil hunting, here it is on a map. Red is where the car is parked. White is where the entity was. Blue is the rough area I was digging around. Okay, sorry to keep you all waiting, but this may be a long one, so buckle up. B 2021. Still living in Christchurch. Still fossil hunting. Out with friend at a fantastic spot, let's call her Anna. We've been here multiple times in both daylight and at nighttime with nothing like this ever happening before. Huge storm hits Christchurch a few days beforehand, some of the heaviest rain in years. My flat loses part of its roof, and leaks on all 3 floors. Decided to visit the location, a small farm on the Canterbury coast about an hour's drive from the city. Farm has great beach with huge siltstone cliffs full of fossils. We both know that the storm would have knocked a ton of new material down onto the beachhead. Anna doesn't finish work till 9, so we arrive at the farm around 11 p.m. Walking through farmland and down to beach. We have floodlights as it is pitch black this far out of the city. Windy as all hell and bitterly cold. Both excited to get onto the beach and see what we bring home. We follow the path down and start our trek, scanning rocks and the cliffside with our torches as we go. Going great, found a huge tiger shark tooth and a nice crab so far. Think I can hear a faint sound somewhere in the distance, pay no mind to it. Hear it a few more times and decide to listen. Anna is maybe 50 meters behind me, closer to the tide line, and I'm up against the cliffs. Sounds like a man's voice shouting something in a language I can't quite make out, carried over the wind. But it's not English. Must be other fossickers somewhere along the beach, not unheard of to have another team down there at night, but can't see anyone, or any lights. Keep doing what I'm doing and keep hearing the sound, start to be able to make out what it might be. If you've ever been to New Zealand, you've definitely heard Te Reo before. It's the language of the native Maori population. Sounds like a man shouting "Hoa," or something similar, definitely in a Maori accent. Shouting is definitely in Maori. Sounds like it's coming from somewhere up on the clifftops, Black Arrow and Pick related. Shine light up the huge face but can't see anything up there. At this point Anna has made her way over to me, don't mention the sound, and we keep making our way further along the coast. Hear the shouting intermittently as I'm walking. Anna stops, shines torch up the cliff face, and asks me if I can hear anything. Ask what she's hearing. She tells me she's not sure, but it sounds like shouting in Te Reo, and it's definitely a woman's voice, but she can't quite make it out over the wind. Tell her I've been hearing the same thing, but I'm certain it's a man's voice. She puts her hand up and says, "Listen." Can't hear anything. She's telling me she's hearing it right now. Hear the man shouting again, ask if she can hear it, she hears nothing. Okay then, so we can each individually hear our own gender sound, but not the other? Decide to keep walking, about 12:30 a.m. at this point. Find more fossils, chat about the area and the paleontological history. Damned nerds. We both haven't heard the shouting in a while, both assume it was nothing but our imagination. Come up to the corner we round before Crab Alley, White Arrow, we call it that because of an abundance of fossil crabs, super creative. There's been a huge cliff slide on the corner, rocks and debris everywhere. Small space between cliff slide and ocean where we can go around without climbing or getting wet. Look back at Anna as we agree to check out the fallen cliff on our way back. Take a step forward. Frigging freeze immediately on the spot. Sheer, unbridled terror. If I hadn't pissed in a tide pool before, I would have pissed my pants at 23 years old. I was so scared. Literally don't move a muscle. Anna lets out a small whimper from right behind me. She clearly feels the same as I do. In front of us is a clear stretch of beach, illuminated by the light of the moon, which came out from the clouds a few minutes previous. Maybe 50 meters away, the ground is moving like a heatwave, almost exactly like my last post. I feel like prey. There is no better way to put it. Anna asked quietly if I can feel that. She sounds absolutely terrified. I can feel the air almost solidify in my lungs. Try to breathe, can't get a full breath. The entire beach before me feels enraged, and it is letting us know we couldn't be more unwelcome there. Feel with 110% certainty that one more step would mean death. Slowly back away, trembling and genuinely traumatized. Presence follows us, can feel it millimeters off of my back. We calmly but hurriedly begin the walk back to the truck. We are both dead silent, eyes locked forwards, flashlights off, walking side by side. Strangely feels as if I'm in the passenger seat of my own body. Get to the slope which leads off the beach and back to the car. Can feel the presence stay on the sand, hurriedly climb the slope and just GTFO. Look back only once, the entirety of the beach and the bay and the photo is moving with the heatwave effect. Actually start crying. Get to the car, floor it and speed off. Anna is completely shut off, doesn't say a word until we're about halfway home. She starts crying uncontrollably and asking what was that repeatedly. We pull over at McDonald's and get some food and calm ourselves down. Begin to talk about the event. Green text over, now on to our theories and a revelation from a friend which confirmed our suspicions. We were sure that we had accidentally stumbled onto Maori sacred, tapu, land somehow, as we both got the very clear feeling we were trespassing or disrespecting whatever was there. We thought back to the voices we were hearing earlier on from the clifftops and both thought they were some sort of warning to go no further, which we had unknowingly ignored. It just kind of made sense at the time and still does. We were warned to stay away, and upon crossing a certain line were met with what I can only call spiritual violence. It was absolutely the scariest experience of my life, and I have been through a lot. Asked a couple of local fossil hunters about the area, and a friend had found greenstone tools and artifacts at the same beach. The Maori people have a cultural and spiritual connection to paunamu, or greenstone, and used it for tools and ceremonial items. The dumbass took the artifacts home too. Also talked to the owner of the farm, and the spot where we felt the unrest was a Maori eating ground, where they cooked together as a tribe in the 15 to 1600s. Feel free to ask any questions. I'd like as many people to see this as possible, as I don't see many Kiwi Anons on this board. Okay lads, here's another story. Not as spoopy as my beach experience, but more experience from Maori land. 2021. Be me. Be about 4 months before beach experience, decide to follow a tip and head to a new location in search of Cretaceous marine reptile fossils. Place is the Waipara River, in North Canterbury. Place has been a significant location for the local iwi tribes for centuries, but didn't find out till later on that day. Get to the location about 12 noon, park the ute and walk down gravel path to the river. There is no path that runs parallel, so I have to wade about waist deep through the river itself to head upstream. Things are going well so far, area is beautiful and there's not another person around for miles. Round a corner and see a high gravel hillside, running down to the riverbank. Notice something white contrasting against the gray/brown gravel face. Walk to the riverbank and begin to scale up the hill, get to what I'm looking at, and realize it's a fragment of moa bone. Moa were gigantic flightless birds native only to New Zealand. Bones aren't extremely rare, but it's my first time finding material from them. Look around and a little further up the bank I can see a much larger piece. It's an entire moa femur. Extremely excited. This is an unprecedented find for me and will make an awesome addition to my collection. Carefully wrap and apply plaster sheets from my backpack, as they are hollow and notoriously fragile. This was a subfossil, where the mineralization process wasn't entirely complete and meaning the bone was extremely fragile. Cup of tea while the plaster is setting, still a Brit bong at heart. Everything is ready to go, bubble wrap and pack into backpack and continue upstream. See a fantail, small native bird, from across the bank fly over to me, starts cheeping excitedly and flying in a circular pattern around me. Huh, that's weird. They're usually pretty timid, but this one might not be too used to humans. The further I get upstream, the more fantails join him. There's honestly between 12 to 15 at this point, hard to count as they're all in constant motion. Have had the feeling of being watched for a while now. Keep catching movement from the tree line on either side of me from time to time. Just shadows moving through the trees, that aren't from the trees. This story takes place around a month after the event with my ex-GF and is only a few kilometers from that location, so I know something isn't right. I realized that far too late. I felt a hand placed gently onto my right shoulder and felt the strong presence of a woman behind me. Lose all control over my body, like someone else is piloting me upstream. The rest of this story is a complete haze, and pieced together from fragmented memories. I will try my best to green text it, but I'm not sure how it will go. Get visions as I'm walking. Can feel myself walking as the water gets deeper, but am extremely calm. Same feeling of intense sadness is back. Visions of dark, shadowy figures, definitely men, stalking me through the forest, unable to step out into the daylight. Vision of a Maori woman, maybe mid-20s behind me, with a hand on my shoulder, hard to explain, but she is aware of the men in the forest, but is confident they will stay away. Almost connected to her emotionally. Can hear the song of the forest the other Anon describes. Cannot put it into words, almost feels like an energy my body interprets as sound, but I can understand it. It's very emotional and has impact to it, but no words. I get flashes of what I can only say is the past, with tribal Maori people gathering around the riverbank, going about their lives. It's too much to handle, and I lose consciousness, not like passing out, but the same thing as being blackout drunk? Where your brain shuts off but your body is still operational. Wake up incredibly foggy on the bank of the river, where I first entered. My boots are off, placed neatly next to my bag. Wondering what the fuck just happened. Time is now nearly 5 p.m., and I was only an hour upstream when the whole thing went down. I remember checking my watch frequently as I was trying to measure the time taken to reach the Cretaceous spot. Slowly get up, not afraid. I remember the event but am surprisingly calm about it. Pack up and drive the way home. Stop at a small winery on the way home for a coffee. Woman running the place asks if I've been at the river. Yes. Asks me what happened, says I seem very distant and off. Tell her something strange happened, don't elaborate because it sounds insane. Oh, I'm not surprised, there's something about that place that I can't explain, it's very old. Proceeds to tell me about multiple people being scared away from the river, and others reporting lost time, emotional distress and extreme uncomfortability. Says that the river knows when people are there, and is very much alive. So yeah, that's about it for that one. Feel free to ask any questions as per usual. Adding context to river story. Red is starting point. White X is where I found the bone. Blue line is upstream with the circle being roughly where all hell broke loose. Yellow arrow is Cretaceous area where I intended to reach. I also went back about a week later with nothing too strange occurring, and found some plesiosaur bones and a huge concretion. Very cool. Also more proof, photo facing downstream towards the forested area where the event occurred. Took this photo on my return. Cretaceous formations are directly behind me. Truly a beautiful spot on a good day. Can't post photo bundle sadly, but here's a plesiosaur finger bone I found on the river. Thanks man, here's a partial sea urchin found at the spooky beach the night of the happening. I believe it belongs to the genus Cnidaria, unsure of species.